Hey, what'd you get on the science test? Well, cause you asked, I got an 18 out of 20, which means an A+. What'd you get? Nah. Oh, come on, it wouldn't be that bad. Oof. Wait. G+? Does that even exist? Garbage man? Garbage man. At least I recycle. Let's talk about grades. So I've brought up issues with the education system in a past video called What is School For? And in that we discuss what is the purpose of school, what are the issues with it, and how can we change it. So today is a very juicy topic about the grading system, either numerical or letter grading, and we'll be discussing 5 issues I have with it and why we should scrap it. Number 1, it is such a depersonalized, one grade fits all approach. What I mean is, from mine and other people's schooling, we only had one grading system for all students. So for example, an A in maths is a general estimate of where the average student should be. But no student is average, no one's average. Like the analogy I mentioned in the past video about pilots, if we try and make a system that fits everyone, then it will fit no one. So say if student A had a head start during primary school, she gets help from her parents and she's quite proficient in writing and reading, whereas student B has struggled with reading and writing and can now write an introduction and body paragraph of an essay, which is a huge achievement. They both started at different points and they are progressing at their own pace, but are graded on the same scale. So why not instead give a student a personal guideline of where they are instead of comparing to an average? And I find that it's a lot easier to explain this through something like physical education or PE. I personally think that being graded on your physical education is just so stupid. Personally, I always got C's or B's, and maybe that's why I'm salty. But the more I thought about it, if someone were to say to me, I got graded in PE, these thoughts would come up. But what if you're good at surfing, but then you can't show that off in class? Well, if your body's different to others and your fitness levels are different too, then what gives you an A? If you play a match of tennis and then someone's already played it for 5 years, then isn't that unfair for you? What are you even being tested on? Your fitness levels are going to change and improve anyway, so what's the point of putting a label on it? What? Academics is exactly the same. Every student is at different levels, and to pit students against each other on one grading system just doesn't make any sense. Number 2, it's a personal label and you may start to identify with the grade. So while it's not explicitly a label, it's what we talk about during parent-teacher interviews, it's what gets rewarded at assembly, and so it just doesn't not make sense. I think I got that double negative right. It doesn't not make sense, or it makes sense why we attribute our self-worth to it. In school, when I got an A, I was happy. I felt smart, and people would also treat me that way too, by saying, "Oh, you got an A? That's awesome." Or, "I'm so jealous." I placed value on my grade because others did. So then when I got a B or a C, I felt stupid, or at least I felt unhappy. Number 3, we study for the extrinsic factor of a grade, not because of intrinsic factors like motivation. There's a very big difference between I want to get an A versus I want to learn. And with grading, we just care less about what we're learning and more about how we can learn to get a grade. So I personally was very good at working backwards. And what I mean was, they'd give us the rubric beforehand and you could see what qualified as A material. So I would look at that and structure my work in a way that would get an A. And not for me, really understanding the concepts and enjoying my learning. Number 4, the grading system has a cap. So that sounds a bit weird. This is what I mean. A+. Well, that's the best. I guess I know everything now. Ugh, that's the worst grade I could get. I guess I'm a failure. And finally, number 5, grading generalizes your skills. So say if you got a C on your essay, you might start to associate that with being a bad essay writer. But there's a misconception in that by thinking that essay writing is just one skill. It's possible that you have a C for analyzing content, but then an A for structuring your essay, and a B for... what do you do in essays? For providing evidence. And while school will have rubrics to split up these different skills, you will still end up with one final grade or score. And if that's a C, you'll start to associate yourself with that C, and that may demotivate you. So I've mentioned all the reasons why grading has a lot of issues. So why do we still have it? And I think the main reason is because it's a convenient, quantifiable way of seeing where the child's at. It gives teachers a general indication of which students need more help, but to be honest, I think it's mainly to help schools quantify their results, and then if they're good, they will show it to everyone else and get more enrollments and therefore more money. And that's just a personal observation, and I really think it's true, but challenge me, say that you disagree. I would love to hear why. But really, education should not be about convenience, and it should really not be about fitting into an average. So what now? In an ideal world, I would think that we would scrap grades because they don't help, or at least they're not effective. And because that's an ideal world, I will go into the present world and say at least we should personalize the grading system to the student. And we should be letting that student know where they are on their own grading scale and therefore compare themselves only to themselves. Another idea I have is to provide more feedback. So care less about the grades and give the students more personalized feedback on skills that they should improve in. Because real life is not about marking us out of 100. When you have a job, no one is giving you a grade or telling you where you sit on a predefined scale. Hey Joe, for your speech yesterday, what do you think? I'd give you maximum 70 out of 100. I mean, the evidence you gave was okay, but you added a lot of pictures. Oh, but people found the dog memes funny. Well, yeah, maybe, but I'm the one grading you. But dog memes. The only thing you'll really receive is feedback, and whether people like your clients, customers, colleagues are satisfied with your work and what impact you're making with your work. If I go through 13 years of schooling, I'd really hope that what I learn in school and the system behind schooling translates directly to real life or life beyond school. So we really need to scrap grading, give more feedback, give more personalized progress feedback to a student, maybe even get students to give each other feedback, like make that normal, because people are always learning with their peers. So just some food for thought. I hope that really got you thinking about your own education, and I am obviously very passionate about this, so there will be more videos about this in the future, and I will see you next time. Bye!